Welcome to Business Disruptors. I'm here today with Jamie Keane, the founder and owner of Bespotted.
Yes, hi.
Yeah,
How's it going?
yeah, good, good. It's great to be here in sunny New York. So tell us all about you, Jamie. Tell
Oh,
us about you and tell us about your business and everything.
absolutely. Well, thank you for coming to my tiny little apartment in Manhattan. This is where we're recording. I am so excited to be here and talk all things pet industry. So my first venture into the pet space was working at a doggy daycare in downtown Manhattan. I loved it, loved it, and just couldn't get enough. Fortunately, the pay wasn't sufficient enough to live independently as a young woman in New York, so I had to get a grown-up job, if you will. But then, in 2020, the time when you're like, what am I doing with my life? I want to do something that makes me happy and fulfilling. I started my first business, Dogspotted, which I grew a New York City community, helping small businesses, helping pet parents navigate that complicated thing of dog parenthood. But through that experience, what I realized who really needed the help were pet businesses like the trainers, the walkers, the groomers, and even pet products to help get the word out there so they could help those pets and pet parents. So that's how Bespotted was born. And now my job and goal is to empower these pet businesses to do their own marketing on their own. So they're not wasting thousands every month having someone else manage it and take away their voice. Because at the end of the day, these small brands, the voices are them, the founder. That's what makes them different and unique. So I get so excited watching these pet entrepreneurs grow and flourish, come into their own, and showcase what they're all about, what they're passionate about, whether it's the training or the grooming or the pet product. So that's in short what I do with marketing, as well as helping them also create digital products. That could be a course, it could be an online subscription community, it could be a template, an ebook, you name it. All about empowering and using the tools of the internet.
Wicked. Like the pet industry's always like been a bit behind, I think. Like when it
Mm,
comes to marketing, I always feel like we kind of hit like the sort of marketing trends 2 or 3 years later.
yes.
And I think like, I mean, what you put it down to, I kind of put it down to like there's a certain level of arrogance maybe amongst the
Okay.
community.
Yes.
Yeah, like I don't know if it's arrogance or like, but people tend to get more stuck in their ways. I think in
Mm,
the pet industry because I think it's so personal to them.
totally.
And so rather than actually like, I think like if I was selling, I don't know, like chips or something, I'm not going to be like crazy obsessed that
Yeah.
my chips are the best.
Yeah.
Whereas I think like in the pet industry, everybody is so like all in on their
My
products.
way or the highway.
Yeah, the like I think like when we talk about stuff, like a lot of people just get so wrapped up in this is it,
Totally.
and like when trends happen, which they
Mm,
do, they get left behind or
mm,
they don't know how to market their products that well. So
yeah.
I mean, how do you navigate like that sort of thing? Because obviously, like yeah, with this and like there's a lot of people who've been around for years,
Mm-hmm.
especially in like let's say dog breeders, dog trainers,
Mm,
and they've been doing it for like 20, 30 years, and they're like, no, I know it. This is me.
right.
But like, look, I've been in the pet industry my whole life, and things change continuously. And if I was
Mm.
doing today the same thing I was doing 25 years ago, I'd look like I'd look like sort of some backward idiot. So
Yeah.
like, so how do you sort of navigate that with like people?
Yeah, I think two things are really important. One is understanding your niche, right? I think a lot of the time people are like, we were talking about this earlier, like, I solve every problem under the sun, right? But every dog, every person has different needs and maybe even different learning styles, right? Or make different purchasing decisions. So, first, it's really understanding who are you solving a problem for and how do they best receive information? Where do they spend their time? Right? If you're trying to attract the boomers of the world, let's say 60 up, they're probably hanging out on Facebook, right? They're probably not hanging out on TikTok or Instagram, right? But if they're millennials or younger, right, it's probably the Instagram, the TikToks of the world. And then email is one of my favorites because everyone from a young kid to your grandma has email, right? So it's understanding where is your ideal customer hanging out, which it's really interesting, right? As a business to business type of business, most people in my position would be hanging out on LinkedIn, right? Because I'm trying to get other professionals. But surprisingly, the majority of my clients don't hang out on LinkedIn. So I don't invest my time there. So it's understanding where are they hanging out, and to your point, being flexible about it. New things are coming out. I was talking about this with a friend the other day. How do you remember Clubhouse
Yeah,
during COVID?
yeah,
That was like the hot place to hang
yeah.
out,
I
right?
never got into it.
No, okay. I
It's just
did
all these
some.
voices coming out of
Yeah,
my
you're like,
head. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, it's like I tried it. People made me download it. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I feel like I don't want to talk because it's like I'm listening to someone's phone call. Like,
right. You feel
it's,
like you're like eavesdropping.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
super weird.
It
Like,
was super, but it blew up.
yeah,
People
yeah,
were loving it. It was like everyone had their own little mini podcast in a way, but it was also a conversation. But hey, no one's using it today, right? So to your point with trends, it's what is working today, and to understand the algorithms of it, which can be really complicated, as well as understanding best practices, right? So I think it's being open, being fluid, and open to new things. And to your point, like I hear it all the time, like Instagram just doesn't work for me. It never will. And I'm like, well, it can if you learn how to use it properly. You just haven't, because they say Facebook's what I do, word of mouth, which is great. But you gotta, again, most millennials and younger, outside of maybe Facebook groups here and there, they're not spending time on. I don't post anything on Facebook anymore, you know.
mm.
So I guess being open, leaving your ego at the door, and understanding what problem you want to solve and where they
Yeah.
hang out.
I think it's interesting, like, because you obviously mentioned pain points, and pain points is one of those things that, like, it's like you said, people saying, you know, I this doesn't work for me, marketing doesn't work for me, like, and it's because people don't really understand marketing, right?
Totally.
And like when we talk about pain points, it's like, so I do a lot. I've done a lot of brand work in terms of like putting across USPs and that sort of stuff. And the key point of putting across USPs is actually saying, what is the pain point that makes people spend money?
The more painful, the better to throw the card at your faces.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, but
Yes,
but
it's
like,
true.
yeah, people are like, I see it. I talk to people all the time about it, and they're like, "What's the USPs of your products?" Oh, my product's sustainable.
Right. It's like,
Yeah.
so what?
So what? Like, nobody's going, do you know what I really need? I
Yes.
really need something more sustainable.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, it's nice. It's like second, third on the buying decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, what do you actually need? Like,
Correct.
my dog has stomach issues. Like, so I want something which is going to be gentle on its stomach. It's going to have prebiotics, maybe a small amount of probiotic, whatever, or like my dog, everybody has a pain point, and it's about actually understanding that pain point and actually then
true.
like targeting in and saying like, right, this is, I can see you may have a problem here, or like, better quality, lower price, the what I'm spending at the moment. So there's a lot of these people who are buying, let's say, subscription type dog foods. And if I was trying to coach somebody on the current USP to sell online, it would be trying to say to people, well, like, subscriptions are problematic because people run out before they should, or they're super expensive, or people don't like to be tied into, I've got to have this every month. Like, giving people a product which is just as good, a lower price. They don't have to, because these are pain points for people. It's like, I want the high quality food. I don't necessarily want to be tied into using it on a continual basis. But do you know what I mean? And
100%.
and I talk to, like, and again, it's like, it's trying to understand that what you see as important as a person isn't necessarily what's important to your customer.
Oh, preach. Everyone thinks they're their own ideal customer
yeah.
because you made it likely because your dog had this problem or your friend's pet or something to that effect. But you got to get out of that bubble.
Yeah.
Pop it.
How'd you do that? Because I'll be honest, like,
Yeah.
it's my one of my biggest problems is when I talk to people is actually, like, you sit down with them and you say, right, I look at, let's say, a wall of dog food in a pet store, and they go, like, why am I not selling enough dog food? You're going, well, where's the differentiator here? This is just a wall of the same shit, or like a wall of stuff that may have lots of different uses, but you're not like signposting anyone.
100%. So I actually had this conversation with someone yesterday, a client of mine who has dog treats. They're single ingredient, right? Which is great for picky eaters, great for dogs with known, especially allergies. So we know that one of the most common, which was so surprising to me, is chicken. It's a very common allergy, right? But chicken is incorporated into so many different treats. So, for example, they have a freeze-dried salmon treat, which is great, right? Because it's smelly, so the dogs get excited about it. So I say to them, you need to emphasize it's great for picky eaters. It's great for dogs with allergies. So then part of your marketing can be, is your dog excessively scratching? It could either be environmental, right, or something they're eating.
Yeah.
So helping them educate your pet parent to understand, okay, this is a solution to your allergies. Like our dog had allergies. We went to a dog dermatologist, and I don't even want to tell you how much I spent trying to figure out her allergies.
Yeah.
Versus if we fed her simple foods like the single treat as an example, right? Or another one angle is fun is if you sell a farmer's dog type, right, where it's soft. That's great for seniors because they don't have any teeth.
Yeah.
Right? So it's understanding the problem that they're facing at that particular moment. So I always tell my students to not ask themselves, but ask their client, what was the decision? Why did they buy? What problem did their product solve for their particular situation? Not was it cute branding, but what was the problem? And then lean into that, right? 100%.
I think as well, like people try and do catch-all stuff as well too often. Because the problem is as well is that if a product has a lot of benefits,
it's harder for them to figure out it's for them.
Yeah. Like so, one of the sort of like marketing revolutions, I guess, in the industry was like 20 years or so ago. Like Royal Canin brought out breed-specific dog foods, which is total garbage.
Right, but I bet it worked.
No, it worked. It worked.
People see their dachshund and they're like, my weenie needs that.
Yeah. Because like again, it's to do with like poor signposting within the shops, So you're looking at a wall of dog food and you're going,
you're overwhelmed.
Yeah, but you got like dachshund food and you're like, I've got a fucking dachshund, like super duper.
Clothes.
Yeah.
100%.
And so it's but if you can go too hard with this and it's sort of like have like 10 different reasons why you want that dog food and it becomes a blur. You need to kind of nail down continuously.
Messaging is the number one thing. The number one thing. I have a client who started at 0 Instagram followers. Her story is really fascinating. She was based in California. Her husband got deployed to Indonesia, so she couldn't practice anymore, right? Because her license is in the States. So she came to me and was like, I want to sell a digital product. What should my angle be? And she has like 4 Frenchies. And Frenchies, as you know, they have a lot of health problems, from the short noses to their hips, all the different things.
Yeah.
So she became the Frenchie vet, and she went viral, blew up, went from 0 to 50K followers within a very short period of time, like a matter of weeks. And her digital product sold out because all of her content was Frenchie. So I'm a Frenchie mom. I'm going to send it to you, Frenchie dad, and you're going to send it. So to the point of the breed specific thing, whether it's true or not, when it comes to dog food, it's a great marketing tactic because people feel identified and seen and heard.
Well, especially with a popular breed like Frenchies and and the fact they're like the brachycephalic breed and they have problems like with too
breathing,
much. Yeah, exactly. So it makes a lot of sense. And I think it's important just to niche down because look, we don't live in the 1980s anymore.
No. Well, I was born in '89.
Yeah.
So I just lived there for a little bit.
But when I was a kid, like if you had a pet store, you sold everything, or you had access to everything, and people would come in and say, "I'm after a dog crate," and you'd get out a book and you go, "Oh, well, I can get you this in. It'll be in next week." Now you're just ordering that shit online.
Right.
The world is a lot more complex now. Like the niche business can be massive on its own right.
That's the biggest fear I hear all the time. People say, I'm scared to niche down because I don't want to eliminate customer A, B, and C.
Yeah.
But here's another really great story. I have a dog trainer who was terrified to niche. She was like, I don't want to turn away clients. I want to have a thriving business. And I said, I promise niche. Just try it. You don't have to get married. Just date around with your niche, right? And so he decided to niche down to bully breeds and pit bulls because he liked those intense, fit dogs. The funniest thing happened, and he's like a big dude. He's now getting all these Chihuahua clients. And I said, really? Because none of his content features Chihuahuas, just these big pit bulls and bully breeds. He said, yeah, these Chihuahua parents are coming to you because they're like, if you can deal with this tank of a dog who's going psycho, you could deal with my 5-pound Chihuahua. And you don't have to say yes, but you certainly don't have to say no to the Chihuahuas, right? So you're going to magnetize people because your messaging is so damn clear.
No, but that's what I mean. Everything is about focus, and I think it's, if you just think about every sector of society now, like even let's say the jobs market, it's like if you ever try looking for a job, it's hyper niche. Everything is hyper niche, and because we live in a globalized world, and so if you actually want to be successful, it's about just actually going, well, I'm going to do X, like, and then like, what's the subset of that? And then it's just a matter of like, how do I get my clients? And that's where you come in, right? So you like once people have niched down and they actually go, right, I'm going to be the Frenchie mom or whatever it is, Frenchie vet. How do I then like build my following? Because again, it's like, you know, I've obviously learned different bits and pieces from like social media and tricks and like consistency and messaging and that sort of stuff. But like, you know, I don't consider myself any like we're near any level of expertise of it. So for most people, it's like it's daunting. How do you actually put it together?
Yeah. Honestly, this is the number one thing. This, I'll be honest, this was a regret I had with my first pet business that I was talking about earlier. I just assumed this was a problem because as an outsider, I saw it, right? Even if you are your ideal customer, even if you're in it, in the depths of it, you got to do your market research. And market research is not Googling for 10 minutes.
Really? Really? Why not? It's so much easier. Yeah, that's why I have ChatGPT.
Right, exactly. With ChatGPT, sometimes you like put in searches and you're like, come on, ChatGPT, right? They love a good dog pun whenever you're trying to like think of something. So with market research, what I always suggest is utilizing your network, but make sure it's not, and we were talking about this, not your mom. Your mom loves you and will want to just be like, you're doing great, honey. Keep going, right? So you want to make sure you're really getting someone who is your ideal customer. So if, let's say you're trying to get, I don't know, a young couple, right, that maybe doesn't have kids but has a dog, right? Find them using Facebook groups, use your stories, get them on a Zoom, because then you can record it for yourself for later and get the grain or AI, and really listen to their scenarios and ask questions that is particular to their situation of why they want this product or service. What was the situation happening that pushed them there? Because people are not preparatory. As we talked about, they're reactionary. And then the best part is we're going to pull the words from their mouth, put into your content, and they're like, oh my God, how is this person in my head? And that's the magic of it. Use their words, it gets them or attracting them. You know what I mean? That's the way to do it.
And I think it's interesting, like we talked about the mom theory, and like it's like one thing I always have is like in like consultancy work I've done is actually giving people harsh news is actually really, really
so beneficial.
It's beneficial, but like people.
I wish I knew you my first business to give me the harsh news day one.
But it's so hard because again, it's like, especially when you see someone who's crazy invested into an idea, it's total bullshit, and you're like, how do I say this nicely? I say things like, well, what I would do is I wouldn't invest any more of your own money into it. I would maybe look for an investor. And if an investor is prepared to put money in, then maybe carry on. Otherwise, I would maybe consider just seeing what happens from this point on. Because it's so hard. Because if you, like, sometimes when you actually say stuff to people, like when people come to you for advice, a lot of the time they don't want advice. They just,
want validated.
Yeah, they want that validation of like, yeah, this is amazing. And you're like, oh, well done. There you go. I'll charge it. Here's my bill for your pat on the back, you know. But like, but the reality of it is that not everyone can be successful, and to be successful, there's like a multitude of things, and luck. You know, you need luck. Like there's a lot of things involved, and look, I'm not saying that like everybody who's ever come to me, I can make things better, because you also have like your sort of pre-existing infrastructure that can hamper you massively. But it's like sometimes I've said to people, just really I would not carry on, or maybe look for a way out, or see if
what they say.
They don't like it.
I'm sure.
But again, it's kind of like, it's being kind.
I would rather know when you spent, $5,000 versus $100,000 down the road, your bank account will be happier for it.
Yeah, like, and look, sometimes as well, it's like, and we talk about niching with product niching, but some products are so fucking niche.
It's a little too much. It's like there's like that one person.
It's like, you're just that little bit too niche. And like, and that product is part of a niche. And I think sometimes people overestimate the size of the industry. So, for example, they go, well, the pet industry globally is worth $180 billion. Right. But it's like, yeah,
but of that segment.
Yeah, there's like dog food, and then there's like senior dog food, puppy dog food, and then there's chicken, then there's turkey, then there's and then you can like break it all up, and you're going. And when people say to me, "I just want 1% of the dog business," and you're like, do you realize how enormous that is?
Totally.
Do you realize how much it would take to get to that point, the marketing spend and that sort of stuff? You know, like you need to actually like focus down on how you're going to, you know, like service that need that isn't being properly serviced, but also learn to communicate it, learn to distribute the properly, because there's a lot
of logistics.
There's a whole raft of things, and look, the US is crazy for logistics.
Oh my god, yeah.
So like obviously I come from the UK, and in the UK we have like, you know, I can send a parcel more or less anywhere next day.
Oh, you told me this, and it blew my mind.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's like Royal Mail. I can just go and anywhere in the UK for a small fee, they can deliver it to you next day. Yeah. No problem. In the US, if you're in Montana and you're sending it to Florida, that's like a week.
No, it is. Yeah, it's crazy. 100%.
And so, but also it's the cost per piece as well. I mean, I can send 25 kilo anywhere in probably like, you know, anywhere in mainland UK up to like the crazy bits of Northern Scotland no one lives in. I can send a 25 kilo box or something anywhere for like £5-6.
Yeah.
Whereas here I could send like a £5 box, which is small.
And it'd be like $30 just to ship.
Yeah. So, and again, it's like, it's understanding your market and understanding the realities of how you've got to distribute effectively. And so every country is different. So when I've set up businesses in the US, you know, it's understanding, it's understanding how you can best sort of leverage all of those things.
100%. I think to your point, when you're getting maybe not the most positive feedback, that doesn't mean the idea needs to die, but you just need to be open to pivoting and going a different route. I think that is the number one killer of businesses, is people are like, this is it. There's no other way to go about it. Screw you, right? And then their business does die.
But sometimes like products work as part of a range.
Yes.
And like sometimes I think this is why I sort of like disappeared off on the tangent with, but things like work as part of a range. But when you just have one product, it's very hard to actually effectively distribute it. So it becomes very hard to turn it into a business. And you might think, well, if every reptile owner in the country just bought this once, and it's like,
but they're not all gonna.
That's not fucking realistic. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, but if I have, let's say, a range of 20 products which can be sold side by side, I can get that into certain retail stores. I can get that listed. Like if I work hard and I work out my margins and work out my distribution chains, then I can actually sell that as part of a range. But even then, you're not gonna like become the next, you know, Warren Buffett. No. Do you know what I mean? You probably have a nice living for you and your family, and that's it. You know,
100%. I think I'll be honest. My expertise is not getting into retail, and obviously there's a lot of value, and life is very important. Both expiration, but like getting that actual shelf space. I think what people really don't use. People think influencers, but it's really about collaborations too with people that are parallel, and thinking about they don't need to have 1,000 million people, and people think, oh, I have 0 followers, or what do I have to offer? Give away your product and leverage their other audience to build that awareness, because you don't need these influencers that have 100,000 plus, because they're going to cost you a pretty penny. The micro influencers do just fine and are happy to even just get free product. And seeing it everywhere else, I imagine, I'd love to hear your responses. Does it help them get into retail?
I don't think it does. Influencer marketing is kind of an interesting one, because like, like first of all, in the pet space, like macro influencers, good luck with that. Like it's not
it's so expensive.
But it's not value for money. I think there was like the thing where it was like Lionel Messi was paid X amount of money to promote a product, and like the sales turnaround was abysmal.
Really?
Yeah. But again, because it's
the audience is just so big.
But also, if I'm selling like, if I'm selling, let's say, if I'm a business software company, and I advertise on a business podcast,
right?
which is directed at other businesses, then I have like a pre-made like ecosystem of companies.
Right.
So my conversion rate is going to be high. But if I get Lionel Messi,
right, his audience is so broad.
It's so broad that like it's just going to fall beneath the cracks, and he's doing, let's say, 20 posts a day.
Right.
You're
going to get buried.
You're going to get buried, and it's not going to hit anyone. And like influencer marketing is kind of like that, really. My big thing with influencers is that you have to work hard with your influencers, because what you can't do is just give them a product
and say, go run with it.
Yeah.
No, oh my God. You need to give them guidelines and structure. I cannot. Yeah. I've heard so many horror stories of spending thousands of dollars giving away free product, and then none of it's usable.
Yeah,
because they didn't tell them what to do.
And they don't know what the product does.
Right. How to best use it, its applications, the benefits, 100%.
Yeah, understanding like why it sells. Why would somebody buy this product?
Right.
They're just like, oh, I've got this product. It's so good.
Yeah.
And people are just like, what?
Yes.
Because like, what? Why would you bother? Like, if you actually want somebody to like, and this is always the thing I say to people: getting money out of people is not easy.
You might have the best thing in the world, and it's still not easy.
100%. Like, and that's the thing, is that like selling stuff is about addressing a need at a particular point in time. So there's like the 3 points to sales, right? I don't know if you've ever heard this theory.
I don't know. Let's see.
So there's the 3 points to sales. There's emotion, logic, urgency.
Totally. And with urgency, there's also scarcity as well as a good tactic.
Yeah. So you have to connect with somebody logically, emotionally, but then it also has to have an element of urgency to it. Right. Because if you just have 2 out of 3 of those, like, your conversion absolutely plummets.
100%.
So this is why, like, when you're offering a discount, it should be time limited.
100%.
Or you say, well, there's only a limited amount of stock. Yeah. Something like that. But then you also have to connect with their logic. So if I'm selling a dog treat, for example, you're selling it on the logic that, this chicken foot, for example, it's great because it's full of natural glucosamine. It's great for their joints. Like, it's pure meats. There's no nasties. Then you have the emotion. You show them a video of your dog chewing it and it's loving it, and you're going, my dog would love that. That's amazing. But then you say, limited stock, this month only, half price.
Right. Get it,
or it's full price.
Right.
And then you've got the full trifecta. So if somebody is actually in the market for it, you've quickly converted them into a sale. Whereas if you just said chicken feet, they're great, here's my dog eating it. You go, oh, that sounds great. I might get one of those at some point.
Right.
Or if it's just an emotional thing, it's like, here's some kind of tasty chew bar which has nothing in it, no benefits. Then there's no logical thing, and it's like, do you know what I mean?
100%. And it's so hard because there's so many businesses that are in the business of doing things that are preventative. No one's interested in that because they don't think it's going to happen to them. It has to. To your point, the timing is so important.
You're talking to someone who has no life insurance, so I'm like, I don't care what
You're living on the edge.
I'm like, I don't care what happens. It's like, no, but like, that's how people think. I mean, that's how I think. It's like, the preventative thing is like, I mean, look, I ruined my knees playing soccer and my hands boxing and stuff like that. And it's like, and you're like, because at the time I was like, I don't care.
Right.
At some point, this is going to come back.
It's like pet insurance. Like, every time we're on the street with our dog, I'm always like, and I see a puppy, I'm like, did you get pet insurance? And they're like, no, it's fine. I'm like, no, you don't. At least in New York, vets are like absurdly expensive. And it makes sense. They're doing a lot right. But like, my pet insurance has saved us so much money. And it's, again, I had this young, healthy dog. But you got to get them when they're young, because if you get them when you do it when you're older, they have all these pre-existing things, and then it's not covered. It's the same thing. You're like, I don't want to.
But also, just because you're young doesn't mean you're not going to get ill. I mean, like,
no, exactly.
The world is like that, right?
100%. Yeah. And you're lucky. You guys get NHS. We have to pay for our medical insurance.
Yeah, not for dogs. We don't. I mean, there's no dog NHS.
No,
I think there should be. Yeah, I know. I think there should be. I think there should
dog
be
NHS.
Like, dog NHS. Like. Yeah. Well, like.
I think that would do very well.
No, I'm all in on that idea. I'm all in on that idea. That's the first thing I'm proposing if I ever get into Parliament is like, dog NHS.
Dog NHS happens or I'm out.
Yeah, man. Yeah. No, it's but that's the thing is that like preventative isn't a great sales structure.
No.
That's why sustainability as a as a sales like funnel, it's so small because so few people actually think in those terms.
100%. It's funny. I was talking to a dog trainer the other day, and in their bio it says compassionate training, and I said, "Let me ask you a question. Does anyone ever come to you and say, 'Oh my God, I need compassionate training for my dog. Nothing else will work'?" No. Right? And I don't even know what that means, right? So it's my arm is about to be pulled out of my socket from being dragged on the street. That's something that resonate, and that's a reaction, right? Yeah. Same exact thing.
Yeah, I mean, effective training would be better than compassionate, because if you're getting your dog trained, it's because you've got a problem, right?
Right.
Because nobody's training their dog because it's like, oh, my dog, why are you getting it? Why are you training it? It's because it's so well behaved, and I just want to make it even more. I want it to be the best ever.
Right.
No, exactly. Like people are like, my dog is an absolute like head banging nightmare.
Right, literally. And with the products too, like I always love when I see obviously the label of made in America, right? But at the same time, am I scouting out only dog treats that are made in America? No. Right? People, or is it human grade? Yeah, that's great. I could eat it. Am I going to eat my dog's treats? No. What I care about is it healthy? Is it going to keep her, not itching, right? Things like that.
But also, what do these things even mean? Like, that's the other thing is like made in America. Okay.
Right.
Like,
cool.
What bit? What? Like the packaging?
Right.
Like
the packaging, but not the treat.
Yeah, like the machine that like cooked it. I mean, like, what do these things even mean? It's like, and I think that's the thing is when things become like overly ambiguous, like,
totally.
It's like sustainable. What does that mean? Like, where's the grading system?
Right.
Like, where's the grading system? Like, I mean, like if there's like a red to green on there, it's like that would probably be more realistic. It's like this. I mean, we go around and we burn baby seal puppies to make this, Whereas this one, but this actually puts baby seal puppies back in the ecosystem. Like, but again, it's like everybody realizes that there is like, the spectrum's grey, and you can't sell a grey spectrum.
No, especially with your own pet because they can't advocate for themselves. You're your pet's advocate, and I think that's the biggest hurdle that people face with buying decisions is the trust piece. Because if you're just seeing it on the shelf or seeing it online, it's like, how do you know if it's good? And it's very hard. That's why UGC and like influencers can help a little bit with that because they're physically seeing someone that's not this particular brand, physically enjoying it, and you hope for the best that it's someone that is not just doing it for the money, right? That's why I don't know if you've ever read Wirecutter.
No.
It's through the New York Times, and it's their whole thing is we do like authentic reviews, like we're not paid, so you can like actually trust.
Yeah, but again, I think that's part of like the modern era is like a lot of the way you actually get the work nowadays is by giving away a lot in advance. Because the problem is that like everybody's skeptical of paywalls, and it's a bit like, look, I give away a lot of it. I give away a lot of knowledge continuously, but it doesn't faze me because it's not like I could tell you how I do things. I could sit down and explain it to you, but the way I do it, it's still going to be different to how you do it.
Right.
So it doesn't like undermine me personally, but if I can actually explain to you like the processes I go through, you then at least have like an informed buying decision if you ever want to work with me.
Yeah.
In terms of like, like, okay, I can see how he does this, but
to apply it.
But to apply it's different because obviously I have a little bit of madness to me, so it's sort of like, I'll still think in like really bizarre terms, and then people are like, how did you come to like this? That. And it's like, I don't know, I kind of thought about 100 things at once, and then that's how I picked it because I pulled lots of threads. But I can explain how I get through the process, so I can explain how I, let's say, structure sales presentations, how I structure marketing, how I structure, let's say, a distribution campaign. I can explain to you the basic conceptualities of it, because again, and you need to be able to explain those to people, and then people then feel empowered because I can sit down and explain and say, look, you can do this yourself by doing X, Y, and Z. But then when you actually go and do it, it's, you know, it's a bit like, I can show you how to fix a car. Doesn't mean you can fix it or you'll want to fix it. Yeah. But the fact that I was prepared to show you how it was done means that you're like there's a level of open and honesty.
Yes.
Because I think like people try and mystify stuff a lot.
Yes, because they're scared that they're just going to do it on their own. I always use like the example of a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Right? There are so many personal trainers out there on YouTube or social who are showing this is the workout. Yeah. Sometimes you just need someone to yell at you and be like, get up! You know what I mean? And that's what's getting them. And I think what you said, which was really important, was the empowerment piece. I cannot tell you, I have so many people that say, oh, I'm so scared to give away free information because then they're not going to need me anymore. And it's like, who would you rather work with? The dog trainer that is just giving you like facts and promoting their services and saying, I'll help you change your dog, or the person that's empowering you to take that first little baby step so that you could see this is possible. And then that unlocks that, you know what, if I could do this, I can't even imagine what I can do. No. And you prove your expertise and authority because you help them make that little change. So yes, I hear it all the time. Who are like so nervous to give away that.
Yeah, it's so weird. I think it's like, it's so anathema to me now at this point when I hear people like, oh no, I'm not telling you how I do that.
Right.
It's sort of like,
also I heard of Google.
Yeah, but it's sort of like, you know, it's like even things like, you know, like doing customs clearance or something. Someone will say to me like I'm trying to get like, you know, my product from, let's say, the UK to the US, how do you do it? And I'll just go through the whole system with them. Like, and it's sort of like, okay, like, but then you'll talk to someone else and they go, I'm not telling you who I use. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Do you know, there's things, there's so much in this world, like that when you help people, they'll help you and you learn so much more.
Yeah, 100%. And you never know what doors it'll unlock.
Yeah, and then look, and just because you showed somebody how to do something doesn't mean they're going to want to do that, because they're just doing it because at this point in their life, they might need to do it themselves. But at a different point in their life, they might need someone to help. And who are they going to come to? Are they going to come to the person who helped them when they needed the help, or the dude who was like, no,
screw you.
Yeah, you know, like you pay me X amount of money, and
then I'll reveal, right?
Because then when you can do it yourself, you're like, fuck this guy.
Yes.
Like, fuck this guy. I can do this myself. He can take his fucking retainer and stick it, you know. Like, but that's how people, that's how I think. I mean, and I'm sure most people think the same, you know.
100%.
And if you're that worried about your income, like maybe you need to get better at your job.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, especially in the pet industry, there's so much to go around. Pets are just, like we were talking about earlier, they are the new kid. Yeah. They're not going anywhere. They're crawling more and more into our beds.
It's so knowledge heavy. Like the industry's so knowledge heavy. Like, so look, I have been in the industry my whole life. Do I know everything about everything? Hell no. Yeah. Because it's so knowledge heavy. Like, like I talk to people all the time and learn stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's so much to know and there's so many different aspects. It's like, so it's like when I say, you know, I consider myself an expert in my field, it's like, okay, but I'm more like a business development expert. I'm not a nutrition expert.
Right.
I know nutrition. I've done courses.
Yeah.
Would I call myself hell no?
Right.
But I kind of needed to know the basics of it to be able to form opinions, to create business development plans and marketing campaigns, etc. But again, it's so complex. There's more than enough room for everyone.
100%. And going back, like, you know what you know. Yeah. Right? It is important to be open to meeting other people. And that also goes to the thing that I hear all the time. And I honestly think if someone says they don't have this, they're lying, which is imposter syndrome. No one was born knowing all the things, right? You have to invest the time and the energy in talking to people that know a little bit more, a little bit further to gain that. And I always say, which I feel like this is a very British reference, no one is going to come and be like, you are now an expert, I knight you. You know, like that's never going to happen. Yeah. You kind of have to feel confident in yourself. And the easiest way to do that is when you pick a certain topic like business development or pet marketing. I'm more confident to say that because if I just said marketing, which the principles I teach are applicable to dentists, to jewelers, right? But I feel more confident and less imposter syndrome because I picked a certain population. I'm sure you feel the same way with your thing, right? So for those that feel imposter syndrome.
I suffered with imposter syndrome for a long, long time. Yeah. And like, I mean, I built a business up from like next to nothing to like over 4 million revenue.
Cash.
Yeah, like, but
no, that's impressive.
But that's the thing, and like that was like before the era of investors' money and all this sort of stuff. It was like we're working, we're reinvesting, we're working, we're reinvesting. So it takes ages, but then it was like, how did I get there? It was because I was obsessed with the industry and like you're always working on stuff. You work with your customers. I adored listening. Listening like all the time is like, what's your pain points? You know, like creating products to address them pain points. But I still had imposter syndrome, and like, you know, I would go and work for people for like, you know, nothing or like way less than I was worth, just because I was kind of like, I'm a working class kid, you know, and like, and I had like a chip on my shoulder with people in suits and that sort of stuff, and it was like, well, I kind of see myself as I saw myself as inferior, and it was only from years of like actually being in these rooms with a lot of these people and going, this dude knows fuck all. Right. Do you know what I mean? And you're like, okay, he
put on the suit to make him seem, or uses bigger words and terminology that also no one understands.
Yeah, and like it's sort of like, you know, and it's only like once you've been doing something for years that you're like, you can sit in front of somebody and say, so your product, what is your USP? Right. And they're like, huh? They're like, yeah. Yeah, and then you're like, okay, well, explain to me like how you do this. And they're like scrambling, because there's a lot of people who just sort of like move from job to job to job. Their face fits, they do this that, and the other, and they have like a certain level, and they kind of end up with people that they can get to do stuff for them, and it kind of glosses over the fact that they're not really sure what they're doing. That's not to say that like everyone's like that, because there's loads of really good people, but there's lots of people who are like not great. And I would have imposter syndrome against those people, because they would have, let's say, a kind of job which would come with more status. Right. Or feels like more credentialed. Yeah, and like when they talk to you, they kind of talk down to you and stuff. And I'm like, look, I'm a soccer jersey wearing, like, bit of a lad, you know, tattoos. But that's more accessible and relatable. But for the pet industry, and again, I had this, I spoke to a company years ago about doing some work for them. And one of the things I said to him is that when I go into pet stores and talk to the pet stores, I never wear a suit. Never wear a suit. Because these are people in there. You've spent half the morning clearing rabbit shit out of a fucking cage. The last thing they want is some asshole turning up in a suit and going like, oh yes, look at my wonderful products. Right. They want someone they can relate to. Well, 100%. And like, I remember saying this to a company, and they were like, no, we have a suit only policy here when we visit clients. And I was like, you don't get it. Like, go fuck yourself. Like, and that was the thing. It's like, my customers are my friends, in a sense. Not everyone, some of them, not so much, but definitely a lot of them. I mean, like, I used to go to their birthday parties and kinds of, like, I mean, I have customers I had for like 20 odd years. I still talk to them on the phone now, you know. But again, it's because you have like a personal relationship, but it's because you're on that same level with them, and you're honest with them. Yeah. You give them information. If I didn't sell something, I'd be honest. I'd tell them where they could buy it from. Yes. You know, and it's working with them. But again, it's weird how it all ties in, because society has that sort of edge. And in other industries, I can see how that works, because it's like, it's a level of respect you have to have for your customer and all this sort of stuff. And look, don't get me wrong, if you're visiting a corporate, it's a different environment. But for a normal pet store, no, I could not agree more. I used to work in corporate. I worked even in university, and I'm right now wearing a tank top and shorts, right? And I could never do that at that job, because to your point, it has to feel more professional. Where now when I do sales calls with my clients, in the very beginning, I used to put on like a button down, and they would be in like hoodies. And I'm like, this feels, to your point, like a little awkward. Like, I don't want them to feel uncomfortable. So now I'm wearing what they wear, which is great from the work from home lifestyle. There was one thing that you said that I think is so important, and it's really being relatable. I think so many people feel like they have to prove themselves by using complicated terms or complicated explanations. The best marketers, the best salespeople talk the same language as your customer. My rule of thumb, if a 10-year-old can understand, you've done a fantastic job. Yeah. No, definitely. And like relatability is massive
Huge.
because people buy people.
Yes.
Like, and if people
Buy from people, they don't buy people.
no, but you know what I mean. They
I
buy,
know
no,
what
no,
you mean.
but that's one of the primary like sales points is, do I like this person?
Because that builds trust.
Yeah, because I mean, how many times have you really liked a brand? You've met the sales rep and they're an asshole,
and then you're like, I'm out.
Yeah, I don't care about this brand anymore because
they spoiled it.
Yeah. So for me, it was always about like just getting on with people, and I'm quite like a sort of an easygoing, chill kind of
so
thing.
Chill.
And like, so when you're talking to people, you're kind of like, yeah, man, just ask me anything.
Yeah.
You got a problem? Give me a shout. If I can help you, give me a shout. And people always like, I've noticed as you kind of like delve into more corporate landscape, people kind of can't get their heads around it so much.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot more cutthroat.
Yeah.
But the way I see it is that, like, I don't need to be cutthroat because I know what I've got going on.
Right. You're confident in yourself.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing is that, like, being confident in yourself actually means you don't need to be cutthroat. A lot of the cutthroat
comes easy.
Yeah, because a lot of that comes from like being scared of
insecure.
Yeah, because you're kind of treading water a lot of the time.
Right. I always think of like the salespeople that try to put you in a corner. It's like, okay, I have to. Where if you are open and genuinely curious about what they need, and you're able to position your service or product as the solution, you don't need to shove them in the corner because your offer makes sense to them as something they need right now, versus making them be like, give me your mind or what, you know?
Yeah. So like, how do you like with your customers?
Yeah.
Like how do your packages work? Because obviously like you're teaching them how to sell, but like how do you turn that into a business? Because like the funnel of it is hard, right?
Are you saying how do I get clients?
Yeah, no, but how do you funnel like? Obviously, like the thing is that like you can give a lot away, a lot of information for free, but then at the end of the day, we all still need to pay rent. We all still need to eat something. Yes. Like we all need to feed our dogs. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, priorities.
Like how do you then turn what you do into an actual business?
Yeah. So what I do is also what I teach my students to do. So it kind of goes one on one. My business is completely online. I have clients I live in New York. I have clients in the UK, Canada, Australia. So it can't all be in-person networking, right? Yeah. Can't schlep all the way to Australia as much as I'd love to go.
Sure, it's around the corner.
Yeah,
just not hop on a flight.
Yeah, just like a day flight, like a whole day.
Yeah, you'd be
I get all my business primarily, I would say 90% through Instagram, organic, and then the other 10% is through networking, like online, like meeting you, right?
Yeah.
And other pet professionals. But the real trick going back is I create content that is relatable, going to that point, builds trust, and helps them feel empowered. Because I cannot tell you the posts that I do that are like quick wins where they can learn something and do it quickly. I cannot tell you how many DMs I get being like, wow, this made my life so much easier. How can I work with you? Like if I could do this one little thing. So similarly as a product or as a service provider, if you can provide quick wins through your social, and here's a little hack, call them out. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're going for the single dog mom, right? Who needs help maybe with, you're a dog walker or a sitter, right? Maybe they want to go on dates, right? If you're talking about like that you can be there within like 2 hours notice because she's got that hot, Bumble date, right? Bringing that situation versus like, oh, you're now, right? It's all making it relatable. And my goal is to take marketing from this overwhelming, stressful thing to this thing you can do in 5 to 10 minutes and actually see conversion. So long story short, use content and really study what's going to hook them in, connect to them, relate to them, and see that empowering transformation. And again, to your point, you got to give them value. You got to show your stuff. If you keep it hidden in secret, they're not going to buy from you because how can they trust you? They don't know if you're any good or not,
Yeah, no.
So that's what I teach is how to create content that magnetizes that customer, builds that trust. And then my little secret is, on Instagram, you have your feed, your grid, all your posts. That's where you're building the trust. That's like your open front door. And your pinned posts at the very top should say like who you are, what your services are, and how they help your ideal customer or the product. And then the third post is a quick one or an aha moment. But then once they binge your content, where are they going to go next? Your stories. because you've built that trust, they're a warm lead. And then you're showing your personality, the behind the scenes, your storytelling, and they could click inside. So that's the real trick to getting conversions is, again, to the point, building trust.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's like I find what you do like fascinating because it's kind of it's like it's a nice extension of what's out there now and what's possible with like modern living, and like I'm all in on this sort of stuff because like, and again, I think it's because like I see so many people do it badly. I love seeing people out there able to teach them how to do it well. Like the amount of like big brands who are like posting garbage on like their socials, like
it's so cringe.
It's like, oh, here's Woofy in the store today. Here's a treat, John. It's like, that's your post.
Right.
What the hell? Who is that for?
Right.
It's got likes from
lazy.
It's got likes from the people who own the dog and the guy who filmed it and someone's mum. It's like, but like nobody's like looking at it and going, oh, that's great. It's just like garbage post or like, here's my store. Here's me flashing a thing around my store. Look, oh, is like ego posts or like fluff posts. Like, let's be honest. Like when we like look at TikTok, we look at Instagram. We're looking for things that either entertain us, inform us, or or like there has to be a strong driver because there's so much content out there.
It's a lot of competition.
Why would you look at a fluff post?
Yes, I say this to my clients all the time. They have the best models in the world, right? Our furry friends. But if you just post cute pictures of the dog, whether you're training them or with the product, how can I differentiate why your product or service is different? You got to add that value. And one thing I want to make note of, because I cannot tell you how I want to get off social media. I don't want to do it, which I can appreciate 100%, right? It can be addicting and at times toxic, but we are so lucky. Before social media, you would have to spend, God knows, I mean, with your pet store, probably like advertising in publications, which you get a newspaper, you look at it once, you throw it out. TV, the subway, like there wasn't this option that is free. Free to get millions and millions of your ideal customers. So if you can leverage this free tool, your margins are even greater. And I don't think people appreciate. And I can't remember who I was watching. It's this big marketing guy. He's like, we are in an era where social media is free, right? There is a definite possibility that 10 plus years from now, we're going to be charged to use social, not even for ads, just in general. So I say capitalize on this opportunity to learn how to attract those people in because it's free. So once you learn the skill, it pays itself off.
I mean, what's your opinion on like one of my pet hates and
you say pet hates?
Yeah, so one of my
pet hates.
Yeah, so one of my peeves like is I find the only thing is there's some people who do social media really well. And like they do everything you should, like so it's like like they give information. The information's questionable a lot of the time, in my opinion. But then they'll be selling some bullshit product at the end. So they'll kind of get people in by like, again, and like my problem is like when I give information, I like to be really accurate. Whereas some
I would hope so.
But there's lots of people on there who are like, kibble is dangerous. Kibble, like it drives your dog something. Like just like really poor information. It's like, because they have a particular spin.
Right.
And then they'll go through this thing where they'll like vilify one thing. So a successful way of like getting traction is you have an enemy.
Right.
You have a hero.
Yes.
And you create the enemy.
Yep.
So if you're selling, let's say, some kind of fresh cooked dog food, you vilify kibble.
Right, it's processed, right?
Yeah, and you go, kibble is bad, kibble is evil because of X, Y, and Z. Like, and then say you should be feeding this, and then they'll be trying to sell something, either that product or they'll sell like a add-on product or something. And I'll be honest, I actually hate that sort of stuff because there's a lot of people out there who feel bad because like there's nothing wrong with kibble. Like,
clearly it's been working.
Yeah, I mean it's been around. Like, I mean, I remember when kibble first sort of gained traction in the late 80s, and it's been like a mainstay in the industry ever since. And before that we were using like crap like mueslis and like meat and stuff.
Yeah.
So like like cooked baked biscuits.
Yeah, and you can always mix things together, right? It's all about balance.
No, but it's like this. But again, it's like I dislike it because there's also, I mean, extreme, and it's also about there's elements of guilt making, and their information is so like bind. It's a bit like how politicians work,
right? And shaming people.
Yeah, so it's you shame. Let's say I'm a Democrat, I'm shaming the Republicans for this, and vice versa, and so you're either team good, team bad,
right? There's no in between.
And I dislike how that moves into the internet. I mean, do you come across that much?
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing is, if you don't have another, we were talking about USP, right?
Yeah.
That's the easy option.
Yeah.
And to your point, guilt is a very strong emotion, but there's other ways to go about it, right? Instead of vilifying, let's say, kibble, they could talk about just the amazing health benefits of their product.
Yeah.
Of maybe, for example, maybe it's like the picky eater. Maybe the picky eater needs the wet, fresh food over the other one, right? You don't need to vilify. But so many people, it's the easy way.
Yeah. No, like it's a pet hate of mine because I'll be honest with you. Like, and again, this is going back to what you were saying is that you're not selling to yourself. Everybody has a different economic situation. Everybody has like a different, like some people can't have, let's say, raw dog food in their house because they've got young children and they're worried about they haven't got the freezer space or whatever. Yeah. Everybody has like different requirements. Everyone has different budgets, but that doesn't mean that like just because you can't afford to spend $200 on a bag of dog food, you need to shame that person for doing so.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. And people are different in different economic. To your point, if you have this high-end fresh food, market to the higher class and just make it about them and not shaming the other population.
Yeah.
That's such a good point.
Yeah, I think, and that's the thing. I think people do forget that, and I think that's probably what makes me balk because obviously I've worked on the ground in terms of like talking to normal people who got their pets, and if you're in a poorer economic position, like you work to your own budgets.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? And you shouldn't be shamed because you can't afford, because I tell you, like my experience with people from lower economic circumstances is they will feed their dog a better food than they'll eat themselves.
No,
But again, it's like everything is within the realms of what is physically possible,
Right. I think what would be neat, and I have a client who teaches about this, is creating pet pantries, right, and making accessible food. And I think it'd be so cool if I was a dog food brand, maybe sponsoring, right, and donating, especially if they have maybe the high-end product, right, to give them that opportunity as well. Not to say, hey, you have to try this, right, but to give the experience to everyone and make it equitable.
Yeah. No, definitely. No, definitely. So what's your future expansion plans?
Ooh, good question. So one, I love what I currently do, getting to work. It's kind of like one-on-one a little bit with how I teach and Bespotted. But I am launching something soon that will help pet businesses who kind of similar, maybe don't have the means to create their own website, are hoping to do more affiliate marketing, and maybe they don't have a big following, to make it more accessible. Because as we all know, having other people talk about products, right, helps build that trust. So there's the two sides. One is helping people with their marketing, but also giving them the opportunity to feel more professional without having to spend thousands of hours or dollars on creating this digital presence. So I want to make it super affordable and accessible for pet businesses as well.
Awesome. So
this was so fun.
Yeah, man. Tell everybody how they can get hold of you and how they can learn your wisdom and get all the stuff they need to know about this kind of marketing and just
love it. Absolutely. Okay. So best way is always Instagram. As you know, I've been talking about it a lot. So you can reach me at be.spotted on Instagram, or you can email me at Jamie, Jamie, at be-spotted.com. And I'm just so open, similar to you, to chat, explore different ideas. If we can work together, great. If not, let's just even put a plan together to get you to that next step. But no, marketing, it can seem overwhelming, but if you have someone who can guide you step by step along the way and hold your hand a little bit, you can do it. You can do it. But again, thank you so much for this opportunity. This was so much fun. I wish you lived in New York. We would just gab all the time.
Yeah. No, this was great. It was great having that, and No, it's been really awesome. It's like, and I always love like physically seeing people, like,
Yeah.
because I'm definitely like a in-person kind of dude.
Me too. I'm old school.
Yeah,
So when
man.
you said come in, I was like, please come.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So whenever I can, I always like to actually physically be in front of someone. So awesome. Thanks a million.